I'm using some velvet Chanel yarn that I got off of Amazon as a gift. And I have it on hand, so you'll need your loom tool, and I'm using a 31 peg loom. You'll also need a darning needle and a pair of scissors. So we're going to take our yarn and start by making a slip knot. And how you do that is you wrap the yarn in an X around your middle and index finger, and then take that piece of yarn and place it through the loop. And then you're just going to gently tug and make another loop. You're going to take that and place that on your loom. Place the slip knot over peg 1, and that's located right by the anchor peg. And then I'm going to just put that end in the middle of the loom and just let it dangle. And we're going to start by wrapping our working yarn around each peg. One time, just make a loop around each peg. Once you make an entire row around the loom, we're going to make a second row, and then we're going to knit off. So we're coming around for the first row, and now we're just going to go and do the same thing with the stitch on the loop. So we'll start here and continue going around. So we're about back where we started, where the anchor peg is in peg 1. And now we're going to take our tool and we're going to secure the yarn and take the bottom loop over the top. So again, we're going to take the bottom stitch and place it over the top. When I'm done doing this, I'm going to take my fingers and just push the stitches down, because you're going to need room for the next set of stitches. And then I'm going to just start wrapping again, doing the same procedure. And I'm going to do this for 10 rows. You do have the option to do more than 10 rows, but for time purposes, I'm going to do 10. There are a few ways to get your yarn thicker, and one of those ways are doing your stitches with double strands. So instead of 2 stitches on the peg, you would actually have 4 stitches. So you would do all your wrapping double stranded. That is an option to make your hat thicker. Keep doing this for 10 rows, and I will meet you back here. Now we're going to line up our anchor peg and the original stitch knot that we started with, and you're just going to place that stitch over peg 1. So you're just going to line that up, and it's really simple. You just look for the edge of the stitch, and one thing about this yarn is it's very forgiving. I'm going to show a little bit on how I'm doing this, and then I am going to put the video and fast forward. So I'm just pointing out the stitch here at the edge, and that is the one that you place over. Try to line it up as best as you can. Don't overthink this. It's really forgiving, like I said, and it's just at the end, and it'll work out just fine. Now that I have all of the stitches hooked over, I'm going to do what we've been doing, taking the bottom over the top. We're going to do this the entire way around the loom. and I will meet you back when you are finished. Now it's time to cut the white. So get your scissors out. We're cutting this from the working yarn. Make sure you have a sharp pair of scissors. I used to find knots like this in the brunette a lot, but I don't find them anymore. Now it's time to attach our red yarn. So we're going to start at the same place where we started the white yarn at peg 1, right where the anchor peg is, and just attach the yarn to the loom gently. Now remember, don't pull with this yarn. And by the way, this isn't brunette, so when I said that I used to find that a lot, I have been using the brunette and I haven't found too many knots in my yarn, thankfully. So we're gonna do the same procedure as we have been doing, just wrapping that yarn around the pegs on the loom. Now it's time to knit over. So again, we're taking the bottom over the top and we're just attaching the two together. We're going to continue this method and we're going to knit 18 rows. So it's going to be a little bit over 5.5 inches that we're knitting, or 18 rows. After the 18 rows, I will meet you back here. Okay, I have my 18 rows done, and again, that's a little over 5.5 inches. This yarn does stretch, so we're going to start binding off. So start at the first peg, and we're going to go to the left of the first peg. Take that stitch off the loom and move it over. And then we're going to pull a little bit on the working yarn, not too tight again. And we're going to go ahead and wrap the loom as normal. So we're going to wrap the entire way over until we get to the end of the other side. Now it's time to knit those stitches off. So we're going to take the bottom over the top and continue around. Now we're going to take the stitch where the anchor peg is, take that off and move it to the right. Pull on that yarn, not too tight, and then we're going to wrap all the way around. By now, I think you have the idea on how to wrap and knit over on each peg. So I am just going to fast forward through these parts. Now we're going to go on the other side and we're going to remove the peg and move it to the right. And then we're going to continue knitting. So we're just basically going to alternate from each side to get that. Our goal is to get the pegs off of the loom and move them over. And we're going to be doing this, and I'm going to take you to get to the bottom 3. And then the bottom 3, I'm going to show you how to bind off. So keep doing this process. So you'll take one peg off, move it over, and then you knit the loom as normal, like I'm doing. Then you knit those off, and you will have 3, obviously, because you moved the stitch onto the other. So you're going to have 3 on this one. So you'll just do the bottom 2 over the top. So you're going to continue and alternate sides until you get down to 3 pegs. So I'm down to 3 pegs. So I'm going to tell you how to bind off. So I'm going to take my stitch on, take this and put it on the middle peg. So take the peg, the stitch on the right, and place it on the peg in the middle. Then we're going to wrap those 2 pegs and knit off. Now that we've cut our yarn, we're going to wrap that last peg one last time, and we're going to take the bottom 2 over the top, and then I will show you how to take it off the loom. Now we're going to take that working yarn and wrap it again. Just feed it through just like that. So when it comes off of the peg, it is going to make a little knot. Now you are good and you have enough to sew your hat. Next thing, we're going to lay our hat flat, and see, this is the area where you're going to need to sew. So go ahead and thread that yarn that's attached to the hat already. This is where your darning needle is going to be needed. I just usually go back and forth, nothing fancy, just back and forth. Now I'm going to just attach my pom-pom with the darning needle from the top, just stick it through just like that, and then I'm going to turn my hat inside out and bring that up. So here's my white yarn attaching the pom-pom, and I'm just going to secure this by going back and forth. Again, nothing special, just making sure it's secure and hidden, because we don't want to see the white on top of the, the white yarn. It's normal to see the pom-pom, but, we want to kind of hide the white yarn from the actual sewing in process. I don't like this yarn for a pom-pom. It can be done, but you will need to be very careful that your pom-pom doesn't flake and fall apart everywhere. If you can use regular yarn or want to use regular yarn for your pom-pom, I highly suggest it. This project doesn't really take long. It's pretty quick. And I want to say thank you to the person who left me a comment about this hat. I really appreciate comments, and I really appreciate you.